Tonight, before sleep gently finds you, before the noise of the day finally fades away, let your heart slow down for a moment. Just breathe slowly, quietly, because sometimes the hardest feeling in life is not pain, it is not failure, it is not even sadness. Sometimes the hardest feeling is simply being alone, not always physically alone. You can be surrounded by people. You can sit in a room filled with voices. You can scroll through messages and see many names, and yet, deep inside your heart, there is a quiet space that feels empty, a space that wonders if anyone truly understands you. Maybe today you carried something heavy, a worry about the future, a memory from the past, a thought you could not share with anyone, and you held it quietly. You smiled when people expected you to smile. You answered politely. You continued your responsibilities. But inside, your heart felt a little distant, and sometimes when the night arrives and the world becomes still, that quiet feeling grows louder. You begin to notice the silence. You notice the empty space around you, and a question slowly appears in your thoughts. Am I alone? It is a question many people carry, more people than you might imagine, because in a world that moves quickly, many hearts feel unseen. Many hearts feel misunderstood. Many hearts feel like they are walking through life without someone truly knowing their story. But tonight, before that thought becomes heavier, Jesus wants to gently speak to your heart, not loudly, not with pressure, but with the quiet kindness that only He can offer. Because the truth is this: you may feel alone, but you are not alone. Even in this exact moment, in the quiet of this room, in the stillness of this night, Jesus is closer than you think, closer than the worries in your mind, closer than the memories in your heart, closer than the silence around you. The Bible once describes God in a beautiful way. In Psalm 34, it says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted." Close, not distant, not watching from far away. Close, like someone sitting beside you, like someone quietly listening, like someone who understands the words you never said out loud. Jesus understands the moments when your heart feels tired. He understands the moments when you feel invisible. He understands the moments when you wonder if anyone truly sees you. And the beautiful truth is this: He does see you, not the surface version of you that the world interacts with, but the deeper you, the real you, the part of your heart that carries your hopes, your fears, your quiet prayers, your hidden tears. Jesus sees all of it. Nothing about your life is invisible to Him, not the small victories, not the quiet struggles, not the days when you felt strong, and not the nights when your heart felt fragile. Even the moments when you felt forgotten were never unseen by God. He has been walking beside your story every step of the way, sometimes quietly, sometimes invisibly, but always faithfully. And tonight, As the world grows quieter, Jesus wants to remind you of something your heart may have forgotten. You are not walking this life alone. Even when the room is silent, even when the night feels long, even when your thoughts feel heavy, you are not alone. Because the presence of God does not depend on noise. It does not depend on crowds. It does not depend on perfect circumstances. God often speaks most gently in the quiet moments of the night. Moments like this one. Moments when your heart is finally still enough to listen. And if you listen carefully now, beneath the noise of your thoughts, you may begin to feel something subtle, a quiet peace, a gentle presence, a calm reminder that you are seen, that you are known, and that you are deeply loved. And as this quiet moment continues, there is something even more comforting that Jesus wants your heart to understand tonight. Sometimes loneliness does not arrive suddenly. It grows slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. At first it feels like a small distance between your heart and the world. You notice that conversations feel shorter, messages feel fewer, moments of silence last longer. And gradually, that quiet distance becomes something deeper. You begin to feel as if your life is happening in the background, as if everyone else is moving forward together, while you are standing still, watching, waiting, trying to understand where you belong. And perhaps tonight, that feeling has visited your heart again. Maybe you have asked yourself a quiet question. Why do I feel so alone? It is a question many people carry. Even people who seem strong, even people who appear confident, even people who smile often. Loneliness does not always appear on the outside. Sometimes the most compassionate people carry the deepest loneliness because they listen to everyone. They support everyone. They care for everyone. But very few people pause to care for them, and slowly their hearts grow tired. If that sounds familiar tonight, there is something important. Jesus wants you to know He understands loneliness more than you might imagine. The Bible tells us that Jesus often walked alone. He healed many people. He comforted many hearts. He showed compassion to crowds. Yet there were moments when even his closest friends did not understand him. There were moments when people misunderstood his words, moments when people walked away, moments when he prayed alone in the night in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus experienced one of the deepest moments of loneliness a human heart can know. He asked his closest friends to stay awake and pray with him, but they fell asleep. And Jesus remained there in the quiet darkness, praying alone. That moment reminds us of something powerful. Jesus does not look at your loneliness as a distant observer. He understands it from the inside. He knows what it feels like to long for someone to stay, to hope someone will understand, to wish someone would listen. And because he understands that feeling, he also knows exactly how to comfort it. Tonight, Jesus is not standing far away from your loneliness. He is standing inside it with you. When the room feels quiet, He is there. When your thoughts feel heavy, He is there. When your heart feels unseen, He is there. The presence of Jesus does not always arrive with loud signs. Often it arrives gently, like calm air after a long storm, like a quiet warmth in the middle of the night, like a soft reminder that you are not forgotten. Sometimes the most powerful comfort is not a solution. It is a presence, someone sitting beside you, someone who understands your silence, someone who does not rush you to explain everything. That is the kind of presence Jesus offers tonight. You do not have to hide your loneliness from Him. You do not have to pretend that everything is fine. You do not have to explain every feeling or justify every thought. You can simply bring your heart exactly as it is, your quiet worries, your hidden sadness, your unanswered questions. Jesus is not overwhelmed by any of it. In fact, He welcomes it, because every time you bring your heart to Him, you are stepping closer to the love that never leaves. Loneliness often whispers a painful lie. It says, "You are by yourself." But the truth that Jesus speaks tonight is different. You are not by yourself, even when people do not notice you, even when conversations fade, even when the night feels long. You are not alone. The presence of God surrounds you, even in this quiet moment, closer than your breath, closer than your thoughts, closer than the silence in the room. And if you allow your heart to rest here for just a little while, you may begin to feel something slowly change. The weight of loneliness becomes lighter. The quiet in the room feels less empty, and your heart begins to remember something it almost forgot. You are seen, you are known, and you are deeply loved. And as this peaceful night continues, there is something even more beautiful that Jesus wants to reveal to your heart. Sometimes loneliness creates a quiet illusion. It gently convinces your heart that you are walking through life by yourself. The days pass, the world continues moving. People appear busy with their own stories, and slowly a thought begins to grow in the quiet corners of your mind. Maybe no one truly notices me. That thought can feel very real, but tonight, Jesus wants to softly reveal something your heart may not have seen. God has been closer to you than you realize, closer in the moments when your heart felt heavy, closer in the moments when you felt misunderstood, closer in the moments when the silence of the night felt longer than usual. Even when you did not feel His presence, He was there. The Bible tells us something beautiful about the nature of God. In Psalm 139 it says, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there." Those words carry a gentle truth. There has never been a place in your life where God was absent. Not in the joyful days, not in the confusing seasons, not in the nights when your heart felt fragile and uncertain. God has been quietly present through every chapter of your story. Sometimes His presence appears in ways we do not immediately recognize. A small moment of peace when your mind felt overwhelmed, a kind word from someone at the exact moment you needed it, a quiet strength inside you that helped you continue, even when you felt tired. Those moments are not accidents. They are often the quiet fingerprints of God's presence in your life. But loneliness has a way of narrowing our vision. It makes us focus on what is missing, the conversations that did not happen, the understanding that never came, the support we hoped to receive but did not find. And when our hearts focus only on those things, it becomes easy to overlook the quiet ways God has been caring for us. Tonight, Jesus gently invites you to see your story through a different lens. Instead of asking, "Where was God when I felt alone?" Perhaps the deeper question is, "How has God been quietly walking beside me?" You may begin to remember moments you had almost forgotten, moments when your heart found unexpected peace, moments when a door opened at the right time, moments when you found strength, even though you felt weak. Those moments often reveal something profound. God has been guiding you, protecting you, sustaining you, even when your heart could not see it clearly. Jesus once spoke these comforting words to His disciples, "I am with you always." Not sometimes, not only when life feels easy, always, through every season, through every emotion, through every question your heart carries. The presence of Jesus does not disappear when loneliness appears. In fact, He often draws even closer in those moments, because loneliness creates space, space where the heart begins to listen, space where the soul becomes quiet enough to notice God's gentle voice. And if your heart feels quiet right now, you may begin to sense something subtle, a calmness slowly replacing tension, a warmth replacing the heaviness, a quiet reminder that your story has never been abandoned. God has never stepped away from your life, not for a single moment, even tonight. In the stillness of this room, in the quiet rhythm of your breathing, He is near, closer than the worries in your mind, closer than the loneliness in your heart, closer than you ever imagined. And as your heart slowly begins to rest in that truth, there is one more beautiful message Jesus wants to whisper to you tonight. And now, as the night becomes quieter, as the world slowly settles into rest, allow your heart to pause here for just a little longer. You have carried many thoughts today. Some of them were light. Some of them were heavy. Some of them stayed quietly in your mind long after the day had ended. But tonight, you do not have to carry all of them. You do not have to solve every question. You do not have to understand every chapter of your story. Instead, Jesus gently invites you to lay those burdens down right here, right now, because the heart was never meant to carry everything alone. Sometimes we try to stay strong for too long. We keep moving, we keep working, we keep helping others, but inside, our soul slowly becomes tired. And when the soul becomes tired, it begins to search for rest, real rest, not the kind of rest that simply comes from sleep, but the kind of rest that reaches deep into the heart, the kind of rest that quiets the storm inside the mind, the kind of rest that reminds you that you are safe. Jesus once spoke words that have comforted millions of hearts through centuries. He said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Those words were not spoken to perfect people. They were spoken to tired people, people who had worries, people who had fears, people who had questions about their future, people who felt overwhelmed by life. Perhaps tonight, you are one of those people. Perhaps your mind has been carrying too many thoughts. Perhaps your heart has been holding too many emotions. Perhaps you have been trying to stay strong for a very long time. If that is true, Jesus is not asking you to become stronger. He is inviting you to become honest. Honest about your tiredness. Honest about your loneliness. Honest about the quiet weight your heart has been carrying. Because when you bring those things to Him, something beautiful begins to happen. The pressure begins to loosen. The heaviness begins to soften. The loneliness begins to fade. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because your heart realizes it is no longer carrying everything alone. Jesus is with you, not only in the joyful days, not only in the moments when your faith feels strong, but also in the quiet nights when your heart feels fragile. The love of God does not disappear when life becomes difficult. It remains steady, patient, faithful, even when your emotions change, even when your thoughts wander, even when you feel uncertain about tomorrow. God's love continues to surround you like gentle light in the darkness, soft, warm, calm, and tonight, as your breathing slowly becomes deeper, as your thoughts become quieter, you can allow that love to hold your heart. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not walking through this life alone. You are seen, you are known, and you are deeply loved. Even in this quiet moment, even in this peaceful night, Jesus is closer than you think, closer than the silence in the room, closer than the worries in your mind, closer than the loneliness you sometimes feel. And as sleep slowly approaches, let this simple truth remain in your heart. You are not alone. You have never been alone, and you will never be alone, because the presence of Jesus walks with you through every chapter of your life. Tonight, you can finally rest. Rest in the love that never leaves. Rest in the peace that gently surrounds you. Rest in the quiet presence of the one who knows your heart completely. Breathe slowly. Let your shoulders relax. Let your thoughts become still. You are safe here. You are loved. And in the gentle presence of Jesus tonight, your soul can finally rest